Israel sticks to its obligations, have not done that in any way. In fact, if anything, they have also partaken in rescinding a lot of what Israel was allegedly to have agreed to.
Well, Deanna, let's get to President Trump. What are we to make of his comments aboard Air Force One on Saturday that he wants to see Jordan and Egypt accept more Palestinian refugees as Gaza is, quote, a demolition site, and that we should clear the whole thing out and say, it's over?
There's two things to say to that. First, how about letting them return back to their original homes, which were lands and homes that were taken over with the establishment of the State of Israel? 80% of Gaza's population are refugees, and they're refugees from this land that is right adjacent to Gaza. And so how about that as some sort of deal? Instead of kind of trying to come up with a different space and place where they could go to Egypt or whatever. It's this idea that Palestinians are somehow pawns, and that we are people who are just going to be the recipients of any type of harm or damage. We're supposed to just simply accept it. But there's something else to say as well, which is that this is what the Biden administration had also been talking. This is, you're somehow, this is some sort of fantasy of yours. But it's clear that what it is that Israel wants to get rid of Palestinians, and they want Palestinian land. And the question is whether the world is going to stand up to Trump, or whether this is just they're going to allow him to view this as some sort of business deal or some sort of real estate deal. There's a history to Gaza. Gaza City is the largest Palestinian history, and this idea that somehow you can just erase it and build anew is very problematic. And instead, we should be thinking about actually the root cause of this, and that is letting Palestinians go back to their homes in what is current-day Israel.
Ori, was this Trump just freewheeling, talking off the top of his head, or is he somehow verbalizing Israeli objectives, as Deanna hinted at there? Was there perhaps some side deal, do you think, that was agreed to get the ceasefire over the line before Trump's inauguration? Or does he genuinely, incredibly naively, think that Gazans are best served by being moved away from their land?
I don't think Trump cares about Gazans, and I don't think Trump has the stamina and the broad enough worldview to generate some kind of comprehensive deal, certainly not before his inauguration. I think he has exactly the right kind of tenacity and sort of a devil-may-care attitude, because he genuinely doesn't care, to help generate a ceasefire deal of the sort that we're seeing now. I think there's a general resemblance between Trump's MO and Israel's MO, and that is destroy first, no questions asked, as comprehensively as you can, and then try and throw all kinds of solutions up against the wall and see what sticks. I don't think there's a plan in place to remove Palestinians from their land, and again, as an Israeli, I think our settlers, our religious right certainly wants Gaza, but I think the majority of Israelis are not interested in Gaza and are not interested in empire. I think they're interested in seeing the Palestinians either gone or in full awareness of their place, which is having Palestinian neck under Israel's boots. That is an effective solution. Israelis thought we could do this with a genocide, but I think, again, for all the world to see, and I think Trump's behavior supports this assertion, the genocide has failed. Genocide in Gaza has failed. Israel is now without any sort of real option, because Israel didn't care to prepare for a real option before. The images that we saw today from Lebanon, Lebanese villagers chasing Israeli soldiers out, the thousands or tens of thousands who are poised to return to the ruins of their homes in northern Gaza, who are waiting for the okay. If they start to walk like the Lebanese villagers did, Israel has absolutely nothing to do. If Israel bombs them or begins to fire on them in systematic fashion, Israel will suffer the consequences. I can't make this point often enough. Israel is not triumphalist. Israel hasn't won. Nobody here feels as though something has been won. Israel is in a very bad way. Israel feels and understands that everything it set out to do has failed according to every benchmark it itself had set 15 months ago. We are now without options because we never took the effort to make them. So I think Trump, in a way, is very much Israeli in that sense. He has no idea what to do, and he's floating these ideas not willy-nilly. I'm sure they were fed to him by advisors, but I don't see any chance that this thing will happen.
Tahani, I saw you nodding in agreement in places there. What do you have to say to that?
Israel's policy has always been to prevent permanency of Palestinian presence on the land. We've seen that through various systematic measures that Israel has pursued over the decades. Arguably, what we saw in Gaza over the last 15 months has been an acceleration of Israel's policy to Gaza since 2007, which is to make it completely unlivable, and that's what it's done. It's invested a lot to effectively destroy Gaza, make it completely uninhabitable. It's very unlikely that it's going to allow for the resettlement and reconstruction of the Strip anytime soon. We're seeing that in the prevention of movement of people from the south to the north. This idea, Israel can't stop hordes of people from moving back to their homes. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen Israel violate the terms of the ceasefire deal since day one, where on the first day, we saw Israel shoot a 15-year-old boy who was returning to his home in Rafah. And just yesterday, we saw similar images of people trying to return to the north. So this idea of Israel wanting to effectively displace Palestinians from Gaza, that's something that Palestinians themselves, as well as regional states, were warning about since the beginning of this onslaught. Jordan itself went so far as to claim that any potential attempt would be considered a declaration of war.